It's halftime of today's game against the Hillsdale Chargers. Time for our Eagles Profile segment, and for that we turn to senior quarterback Cameron Blair out of Sandy Valley High School, Magnolia, Ohio. Wears number 2 on his Ashland jersey, and the starting quarterback. Cam, a tough one. You got to flush that one away. Got away from you at Indianapolis late, but just some thoughts on the first 2 games and your thoughts overall on this group.
Yeah, I think we got a great unit, a great group of guys that are going to work together. We're never going to give up on each other. Even throughout every single game, if we're down, if we're winning, we're always just going to stick together. And, if we can do that, we're going to have a pretty successful year.
263 yards passing for you and 41 passing attempts. And I know you'd trade all those for a W, but I know it had to feel good for you to get in there and have that much action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever we got to do to win. Obviously we dropped it at the Indy game, but if I got to throw it 4 times or I got to throw it 40 times, we get a win. That's all that's going to matter. So,
what were some of the thoughts from the coaches after that game?
Yeah, we believe, not taking anything away from Indy, they earned it. We kind of lost it at the end. They made the last play and they won the game. So we're just trying to, make sure it doesn't happen again. We're trying to make sure we win on the last play instead of letting the opponent win on the last play.
Cam, it's such a interesting story for you to come in here as a freshman in 2021, started a couple of games, and then played different roles until this year. So you go about 5 years in between stints when you were starting games. I guess I'm just interested in how it feels now to be kind of holding the reins for a team and just to get back to what you've really done your whole football life.
Yeah, it feels great. I feel we got a great group of guys and coaches that believe in me. We've been fortunate enough. I've been fortunate enough to sit underneath some really good quarterbacks. We had Austin Brenner, we had Trevor Brzezinski, and even Trent Maddox was a great teacher. That dude is a football wizard, a nerd, and he loved teaching it. So I was just grateful to be able to learn underneath all those guys for these years.
Cam, I think every off season I would come around asking, did Cam Blair transfer where he could play? And you never did. You stuck it out because you wanted to be here. What kept you here at Ashland?
I feel like the transfer portal is a crazy world that we live in. You can jump around 4 or 5 schools. There's no repercussions for it unless you're transferring to the same league. And I believe, all that's doing is you're giving up on your teammates. You're giving up on the school that you signed with to win football games for. That's kind of just the way I view it. So that's why I've stuck around.
Cam, this team has a lot of different weapons, including yourself, because you're a guy that can run the football. We saw that on Saturday. And you like to deliver some hits when you run the ball, right?
Yeah. That's kind of just the way I've always done it. I've never really been good at getting down, and now I'm sure that'll come back to bite me a time or two. Feel banged up, but that's part of the game. So,
in that game against Indy, 8 different receivers caught passes, and that included 3 to Wiltrell Hartson out of the backfield. What does that mean for a quarterback to have so many targets that you can choose from?
Yeah, we have so many weapons on the field at all times, whether it's our tight end room. We got 2 great tight ends that are out there playing. We got fullbacks that are getting out catching passes, and obviously our receivers, they're great playmakers. And, they're excited to make plays for me, and I think that's really what it's about, is we're excited to make plays for each other.
Yeah, the tight ends played big roles already this season. A touchdown pass in the opener to John Maramie, and then the big gainer to Brock when you guys were kind of backed up in your own end.
Yeah, they believe it or not, those big guys are fast, man. We got some fast tight ends, and they love when they get in space. They aren't messing around. They're going downhill, and they're getting yards.
We're visiting with Cam Blair here on our halftime show. We'll pause here and be back with more of our conversation in just a moment. You're listening to AU Football here on Fox Sports 1340. Continuing our halftime conversation with quarterback Cam Blair of the Ashland Eagles, Magnolia, Ohio hometown, and Sandy Valley High School, where you had just a tremendous career, Cam. I think you have to have an entourage when you go back home after all the numbers you put up. But you had a great formative career there at Sandy Valley that prepared you. Yeah,
it was a great community to play in. Small community, but that's kind of what it's about. Everyone's coming out and supporting you, and you know a lot of names, you know a lot of faces, and that's kind of what the small community is about.
You guys have put out a lot of good football players at the college level.
Yeah. We have a kid right now that's playing at St. Francis, who's getting playing time for St. Francis, the receiver. We had some guys go play defense in Marietta in my class, and we've had some good players.
How'd you get started playing football, Cam, if you go all the way back to the beginning?
Yeah. I kind of something I just grew up into. I've always watched football, always wanted to be a part of it. I actually went and watched a Hall of Fame game one year, and that's kind of when it took over as my favorite sport over baseball. And ever since then, I've just been hooked.
Do you have anybody that really made a difference for you when you were developing as a young player that you look back on now and think maybe some of that coaching has really paid off?
Yeah, I was blessed to have Tom McDaniels as my quarterback coach growing up. We started, I believe, in middle school, and we went all the way up through. I even had some sessions with him when I was still in college just to fine-tune some stuff, and he really transformed my kind of my play style and the way I would need to play the game to be successful, and that's definitely who I'd like to give a shout-out to.
Do you feel like today, Cam, that you still kind of are the same quarterback that you were when you were a senior in high school, just kind of the same style?
Yeah, I try to be the same style. I try to still not do too much, do my job, and let my guys go out and make plays for me.
I know we hear a lot, and we probably are guilty of saying it from the booth when we're observing games, that the quarterback just needs to slow down, or he needs to put more touch on the ball, or those are easy comments to make, but that's tough to not rush things when you have guys trying to smash you.
Yeah, there's some big guys out there at this level. It doesn't matter, we're at Division II level. We got some big guys out there, and you got to be aware of them, but you can't be scared of them. You got to be able to stand there and throw the ball, and try to do your best to make it on point.
I think I was talking with another player about just if I make a bad play, concentrate on making 3 good ones next.
Yeah, it's always next page mentality. We first quarter this past game, we didn't have a good start, and we kind of had a little meeting-ish on the sideline. We see, we just got to go out and play football. We can't go back and change. We didn't get any points in the first quarter, but we can certainly get quite a few in the second and third, so in the fourth end of the game. So that's what we try to do.
You play for Tom Stacy, who's just an outstanding football mind and a great guy to talk to, and just is very energetic, and I know he loves working with you guys, and he's coached a lot of football. What has his impact been on you?
It's unbelievable. He loves the game. He is always up. He's always has his energy up. He loves to support us. He believes in us. He believes in his players. That's kind of the big thing. He's going to believe in you. Whether you're playing well or you're playing bad, he expects the most out of you, and he's going to coach you like he expects the most out of you. And some guys, don't know how to handle that. But that's one way, thick skin with Coach Stacy, and he wants the best for you.
Could probably ask you about a dozen different teammates, but I want to ask you about Jaden Cook, who you are obviously in the same room with. He's a quarterback, but he has just been invaluable as the punter. I know you guys want to get first downs and you don't want to come off the field, but I guess having a guy like that makes you feel a little better when you guys do have to punt it away.
Yeah, he's a weapon. He's a weapon back there, and we actually didn't really know he could punt when he got here. He kind of started punting the ball, and it's not only a safety blanket. Obviously, like you said, we want to get first downs, but it's a safety blanket for us knowing if we're backed up, he's going to flip the field. And that's got to be the same confidence, the defense has too, that they're not going to have the ball on our side of the field because we're going to have a punter that's going to put it down, inside the 20. So,
last thing, Cam, just your thoughts on it's kind of a new season today with the GMAC starting against Hillsdale. These are the important games, and it's kind of just a fresh board.
Yeah, we're excited. We're ready to take it one game at a time, starting off with Hillsdale. And, all our goals are still ahead of us. Even though we did drop that game to Indy, our goals are still ahead of us, and we got to take it one step at a time to achieve those.
Cam, it's great to talk with you here on our broadcast. Congratulations on getting out there on the field and taking the reins of this team. We wish you all the best and good health the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, that is Cam Blair joining us here on our halftime show. Please stay tuned. We'll have more coming up from Jack Miller Stadium in just a moment, including a look at the first half stats. You're listening to AU Football on the home of the Eagles.